As real estate agents, we want our community to be the best that it can be, because when you have a great community, it draws people in. It helps you to be able to give people information about the city and be proud of what you're putting out there, when you're selling real estate. But this specifically, just seeing the selfless people that are out there that are putting forth all of this effort to try to help make an impact on these people that just might need a second chance, or just might not have, some of the connections that we take for granted every day, and have some of the resources that we take for granted every day. It just really, helps fill my bucket. And if I can just be a small part and in such a big change to someone and allowing them to have that opportunity, it just means a lot.
Hi, my name is Jeremiah Gibbs, and welcome to Find Your Place. We interview dynamic professionals to learn how God is using them to further the kingdom, and how their story will help you to find your place in God's mission as well. Today we interview Katie Malott. Katie is a realtor and business owner who's found a way to use the skills that she learned in the industry to change lives in her community. If you're a business professional who wants to make a difference for others, stay tuned to find out how you can find your place. If stories like this one help you, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Check the description for links to more like it. And let's hear her story. Well, I am here with Katie Malott. Katie is a realtor here in Indianapolis, and was our realtor a couple times, actually. Yeah. And just been entirely inspired by her and the work that I've been able to see from her, and the kind of passion that she has for what she does. And happy to have you here to talk a little bit about vocation with us, Katie. If you could just tell us a little bit about your work and what you do, and introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, my name is Katie Malott. I work for RE/MAX Legends here in the Indianapolis area, and I have been doing it about 10 years now. And I am a real estate agent, and then I also own a property management company. So we get the opportunity not only to connect people with houses, or help sell their houses, but we also get to connect with them on a personal level and be able to move them into their community and help them along the way. So it's very rewarding, and I really enjoy it.
Very good. So how did you kind of end up doing real estate? Like, what was the first move into that? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think the first move was we had just had our son, our first child, and we were moving back to the Indianapolis area. Started kind of looking for houses. I was having a difficult time in my current position of trying to balance being at home in the evenings with having a young one. And as we walked through the house with the realtor, I got in the car when we were leaving, and I said, I think I might be able to do that. And I think that sounds like something I would enjoy doing. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and started asking around a little bit more about the business and what all that entails. And then shortly after that, got my license and found home here at RE/MAX Legends. And I've been here ever since. It was a great fit. We had an awesome owner at the time that really helped guide me into this role. And it was a challenge at first. It's definitely a different field, but yeah, that's kind of how we got started. I just was looking for something different and thought it might be something I'd enjoy.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about the ways that the sort of the lifestyle of the career is part of what made sense for you. And I think that's a lot of people that when they're looking for how they're going to spend their lives, sometimes work has to be in alignment with these other things that we do, because they're just as much a part of our life. And so finding a way that, the work doesn't prohibit us from having the rest of the life that we want is super important. So what are some of the other things that you are involved with? What are some other things that, when you're not at work, what's important to you?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time with family and close friends. I feel like surrounding yourself with positive people and just, filling your bucket with having some family time and some time with friends is always important. But also within the industry, I've been able to connect myself with a lot of volunteering opportunities. So when I'm not actually, working on the real estate side of things or the property management side of things, I spend a lot of my time working with some of those organizations within our industry, which has been awesome and super rewarding.
Yeah, tell me about some of those in those organizations that you're talking about.
I am a big part in the Realtor Foundation, which helps get people to transition into safe and secure housing. So we work with a lot of organizations within the Indianapolis area to help provide not only financial support, but also we support them by donating a lot of our time and volunteering, and just trying to help those organizations be able to reach out to as many people and getting them back into what we would consider a regular lifestyle. So it helps with, finding them job stability, obviously housing and shelter, food, and those organizations have been near and dear to my heart, and it's just been really rewarding. So I spend a lot of time working with them.
So as a foundation, then you're not working one to one with a client trying to get them in housing or something. You're actually working with the organizations trying to help them identify, I assume, properties that are going to work well for their needs. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we work with numerous organizations. This year, we actually just met to figure out that we're going to donate to over 25 different organizations and help them with funding for this next year. And each of them are a little bit different. Some of them work with families, some of them work with specifically women or women with children. And the goal is just to, help provide them with the resources and stability that they need to, get back on their feet. We work with some that specify with veterans, single parents. So they all kind of have their own needs and their own niches, and our foundation works together to try to just support them in whatever ways we can, utilizing the industry of real estate, since it kind of goes hand in hand. We want to try to build our community up as much as we can.
Yeah, you have this pool of expertise that you get to be able to offer to these organizations. So tell me, well, first of all, why is that work important to you? The volunteerism part of it, because this is obviously it's closely aligned with what you do every day, but it's not the same thing.
Right. No, it's not. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing. Obviously, as real estate agents, we want our community to be the best that it can be, because when you have a great community, it draws people in. It helps you to be able to give people information about the city and be proud of what you're putting out there, when you're selling real estate. But this specifically, just seeing the selfless people that are out there that are putting forth all of this effort to try to help, make an impact on these people that just might need a second chance or just might not have, some of the connections that we take for granted every day and have some of the resources that we take for granted every day. It just really, helps fill my bucket. And if I can just be a small part and in such a big change to someone and allowing them to have that opportunity, it just means a lot. So I'm surrounded by a lot of other amazing, inspiring people within that foundation. And I've just been blessed to be able to continue to have a bigger and bigger role in that foundation, both from a fundraising standpoint. And this next year, I will be the secretary for the foundation. Good.
So how closely would you say that some of those values that you were just naming with regard to what is volunteerism, this extra work, how much do you get to do that in your everyday work, like the actual part that pays your bills, and in what sense do you feel that about the work that you do each day?
Yeah, I still feel like in a little bit different of a way, but I still get to do that because I'm able to connect with these people, find, a house or a community that works well for them, be able to be the resource for them as they transition into their new home or out of their home. So I still feel like it's similar, just on a different level. And obviously, kind of with a different end goal, but ultimately just wanting to make sure that I can be a resource and provide them with as much as possible to make that one of the biggest life transitions that they'll do as smooth as possible, and them always feel like they have a familiar face to go back to if they have questions or issues along the way.
Yeah. I think about, when you're helping somebody make a decision like that, there's first of all just the financial anxiety involved, because for many people, it's the largest, probably for everybody who's not in the real estate industry, it's the largest purchase that they make in their entire life, right? And so that creates a lot of anxiety. Am I going to mess this up? Am I going to cost myself unduly? But then the other piece is that where you choose your home is going to determine the community that you're a part of. It's going to determine the school system for your children. It's such a big decision. And to have somebody coming alongside you who's an expert, I imagine particularly for people relocating, but for anybody, you have information that I don't have. And I can just imagine the ways that you're able to help folks make those decisions. And that's super important. What do you love about what you do?
So much of it, but trust me, I mean, there's ups and downs just like any business, but every day I feel very blessed that I get to do what I love. I love being able to connect with people. I love getting to know more about their family as I help them through this process. I love being able, like I said, to be a resource for anything that they need. If I don't know it offhand, I will, go out of my way to make sure that I figure out what it is that they need. But just that personal connection, because like you said, it's such a big decision for them, and you spend so much time with them as you're going through this process that you really get to know them well. And I try to always stay connected with my clients. I do a lot of client events throughout the year, just letting them know, hey, listen, I'm still here and I appreciate you. And it's just, so it's a great time to reconnect even after that whole transaction has happened. And, some people move more often than others. So there's some that I don't see very often, and then others that I see more often than not. And that's okay too. But those, pulling them together and like having those events just to reconnect and just, get to see where they're at in that process. You're going through, like you said, the hustle and bustle of moving. And then once they get settled, it's just great to get caught up and see, what they've been doing in the last year or so, and see where they're at in their life. So it's really fun for me as a realtor to be able to just have that connection with people and to build those relationships and keep those going.
Yeah. So you said that connections and that kind of long-term relationship building is a big part of why you love it. Did you know that you loved doing that prior to becoming an agent, or was this something you sort of discovered in the role?
I think it's something that's continued to develop as I've, spent time in this role. I think, like a lot of people, I was like, oh, it would be fun to show houses and look at houses all the time. And you realize pretty quickly when you get into it that there are a lot more behind the things that go on in this industry besides just showing houses. That's probably about 25% of the job, if anything. So as you kind of start to learn those things and get to, familiar with the whole process and everything, I think it just continues to develop and nurture from there. But I was always a people person. I was always someone that liked to, it helps me to help other people. So I knew that part of it was always something that was important to me. And I think that I've kind of developed my work around what my style is. And, not everyone's realtor style is the same either. So, but it's been really fun. And I've been able to create a ton of good relationships and friendships along the way. And I just love being part of everyone's life in one way, shape, or form. So
yeah, you said a couple of things there that I think are super important for people making kind of vocational decisions. That one of them, you said that not everyone does this job the same way.
Sure.
And I think about pastoral ministry. There's so many aspects of my job and my colleagues' work that the way that we do the job is very much dependent upon the skill set that we bring, the interests and experiences that we have, all of those pieces. And you do the job differently. You're a different kind of agent than your colleague down the hall who may think about that very, very differently. But the other piece that you said that I think is just super important is that you developed into this kind of, you learned along the way that this was your passion, right? Like you kind of grew into it. And I think that's true of a lot of people. So
yeah, I think it was something that I just had an interest in, and I kind of took a leap of faith. And luckily for me, as I got involved in it more and more, I started loving it more and more, and I realized that there's a lot more to it than just selling houses.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, with getting involved with the Realtor Foundation, there was all these open avenues that I was able to start going down once I got involved in the industry, and it's just been very rewarding on a lot of levels. Very stressful at times, but very rewarding. So
I the other piece that you said that I think is really important for people making decisions is you said that showing houses is not the main thing that you do. You said 25% or something. I often say to students when I'm talking with college students, if I were to say to you, hey, I think maybe, you would be really gifted to be a pastor, and that might be God's call on your life. Nearly everyone will respond with whether they could see themselves preaching or not.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's the most visible part of the job. The showing of houses is the most visible part of the job, but it's not the main thing you do every day, right? And that's probably true of almost every job. Yeah. What are some of the things that are the biggest part of what you do? What are the things that take up the most of your time and that you spend the most effort on?
Yeah, we wear a lot of hats. So, we're kind of that middleman and the go-to person between the title company, the lender, the warranty company, the buyer, seller's agent, your client. So I think just familiarizing yourself with that whole process and being able to smoothly go through that process and all of the, paperwork that's involved. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make. So there's a lot of legal paperwork. So just being able to just adapt to everything that goes on. I think the biggest thing is just always being ready to expect the unexpected so that you can come up with game plans to move forward and try to transition to the next step as smoothly as possible. Sometimes that can happen, sometimes it doesn't, but I think just being able to be ready for anything and just be familiar with all the different avenues that come into this industry is a big part of it. So it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of research to make sure that you're giving the correct information to your clients and trying to find the right houses for them. And then, of course, there's going to see houses and getting to go to closings and stuff like that. But the behind the scenes stuff is a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that you didn't realize when you got in that you were going to become a contract attorney or these kinds of things. But those issues become a lot of what you do, I'm sure. Yes. If you're trying to figure out where God is calling you to serve, then I hope you will check out my book, Find Your Place in God's Mission. It's a step-by-step guide for hearing and claiming God's calling on your life. It's incredibly practical. It's filled with stories like you hear on this show. So check the links in the description for a link to purchase the book. You can also win a copy of the book for free. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel and leave a comment on this video. Tell me what you're passionate about in the comments. That will be your entry. Even if you're watching this video long after we've released it, I give away a free copy of the book every week to somebody who's commented during that week. So make sure that you subscribe, leave a comment about your passion, and you could win a free copy. Enter as often as you like just by putting a new comment on one of the Find Your Place videos. Click the link in the description to check out the book. I'm sure that folks have invested in you along the way, whether when you were younger or as you actually entered this industry. What are some of the ways that people have contributed to your life that have made the most difference in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always had a very supportive household. My parents were extremely supportive in anything I wanted to do. I was actually a competitive gymnast my entire life. Did it all the way through college with a full ride scholarship at University of Denver, and then actually coached college and coached before I got into real estate as well. So I think that there were a lot of influences throughout my gymnastics career, in addition to my family and that have really helped shape where I am today. I had a lot of coaches that taught me a lot about discipline and work ethic and just, being efficient, because obviously training 25 plus hours a week on top of being an athlete, you didn't have a whole lot of time to just, take your time with schoolwork or whatnot. When you got it, you got to get it done. So, and then, my husband has been a huge support along the way too. I thought he would look at me and think I'm crazy when I wanted to just totally go rogue and go into something totally different, but he has been nothing but supportive. And I definitely keep him on his toes because I am moving nonstop, but he has been a huge rock in that as well. So I think between, the gymnastics influences that I had along the way, the coaches that have taught me so much, having the supportive family and friends, that's really gotten to me where I am, and I'm forever appreciative. And to piggyback along that, once I got into the industry, my owners and my managing brokers here have been just absolutely awesome, and I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah.
So,
I'm always fascinated to hear how these things that seem disconnected contribute to who you become. And I don't know if you know, Jen, my wife was also a competitive gymnast. She stopped, I think, at the end of high school. But I've also had plenty of gymnasts who came to the university who were highly competitive. We don't have a gymnastics team here, so usually they were not at the level that you're talking about, but highly competitive when they were younger.
Sure.
There seems to be a discipline that comes from that, for example, that is very distinctive.
Yes.
I think gymnasts tend to be very hard on themselves, maybe because of the way that gymnastics is judged,
Sure.
right? You can do something right, but if you have one foot out of position or something, then you have to critique that, right? And you're like, wow, you just did 7 flips and we're worried about where your foot landed or something, but those, so what are the things about that gymnastics piece that has been important later in life, whether in your work or other aspects of your life?
Yeah, I think, you're exactly right. It's very unique as far as sports goes. Everyone has their own disciplines with sports, and I'm not taking away from that. But gymnastics, especially when you're super competitive, typically starts at a pretty young age and requires a lot of hours in the gym. So by the age of 10, I was doing 20 plus hours a week in the gym. It's just unique. There's not a lot of kids in my high school that really understood that or did that, even if they were great at their sports. But that's kind of what it took, because you're putting, your body in all these different positions, and you're having to have strength and flexibility and everything else. So I think, the discipline, the work ethic, just kind of understanding it. And I think another thing about it is that the people that you're on the team with, they're going through that same thing, and it helps create a lot of really great relationships of people that have that same similar drive. And I think you continue to, stay in touch with those people, and you kind of feed off of their success and they feed off of yours. And I think that can go a long way. But I definitely think that a lot of perfectionist personalities, a lot of type A personalities kind of come out of that sport, because you're just constantly being looked at and corrected, and you just have these certain expectations, and and you want to do well, and not only for yourself but for your team as well, especially in college. So
Absolutely. Yeah. So coming back to your work, what makes your job hard? What's the part you would get rid of if you could just chop it off and get rid of it?
Oh, that's hard, because it kind of depends on what's going on, because it's fluid. It's always changing. So, we have, this last year, obviously COVID would have been nice not to be there. It definitely made for some obstacles. Luckily, the real estate industry continued to do well, but it was very different. Everything was very different as far as that looked. Typically, let's see, what would I get rid of? I think I would probably just want to get rid of that idea that real estate is easy and that some people don't really understand that whole process. And so, they think, well, that looks like easy money or something like that. And it's not. It's very different if people kind of understand the ins and outs and what all we put into the business to get it to where we are. I think a lot of people would guess that, oh, Remax gives you a gas card, or they give you, they pay for this, they pay for that. Nope, you are an independent contractor just with the backing of one of the, best real estate companies in the world. So, but not financially. So it takes a lot more than I think people realize. So I think just that, misconception of what the position is, just so that people, appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I can imagine that I used to sell cars, and I remember how skeptical people were of their salesperson there. And I can imagine there's, I think there's a natural kind of adversarial relationships with people that are on commission. They just assume that you're out to get them in some way or something, and that's a hard one to overcome, I'm sure.
yeah.
But
And I think just knowing that not all realtors are the same, just like not all car dealers are the same. So just like, taking each situation and each person on a case by case basis. Yep.
Yeah. What are some other life experiences that you think really prepared you for what you do? We've talked a little bit about gymnastics, but what are some others that helped you do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think becoming a parent was something that definitely impacted me. I think it gives you like a very different sense of patience and understanding for what families are looking for. That has definitely helped. I think just like we talked about before, going through the process, and I started off at a very different place than I am now. So just learning along the way and like learning those lessons and has definitely shaped me to who I am now. And then as far as the, contributing to the Realtor Foundation and everything, I've had some close experiences with people that have been going through some of the same things that these homeless individuals are going through. So I think that has kind of shaped me into wanting to give back and contribute to that, knowing that, a little difference can go a long way in someone's life, and just wanting to give them that same impact that those individuals that I knew experienced with similar organizations. So,
yeah, very cool. Why would you say that what you do is important?
Well, besides, obviously being that guiding tool in, like we talked about, finding the right community for you, finding the right home for you. I think it's also important because I think realtors are that first base of a lot of people that are coming to your community. So being able to be knowledgeable and share about your community to help grow it and, make it as strong as it can be, I think only helps those school districts and everything else. So I think it's important for us to just be knowledgeable and be able to be that initial contact for anyone coming in from out of state or out of country, to recognize what Indianapolis is and what it offers. And I think the stronger that we are for that, and the more people that we have looking at Indianapolis in a positive way, the better for our overall community. So.
Yeah. So you said a couple of times things about ways that you would be involved with helping shape the community. You've named Indianapolis just now, but I know you do a lot of work on the north side and stuff as well. So how do you imagine that you in particular, or maybe just agents more broadly, how are real estate agents shaping communities? What are you doing that makes that happen?
Yeah, so similar to the Realtor Foundation, we do have a lot of realtors that give back to the community by volunteering their time. Obviously, we have somewhat of a flexible schedule to be able to volunteer, during the day at times and everything. So I think giving back to the community is huge as far as real estate agents go. But I think just spreading the word and, trying to help local organizations and businesses thrive by spreading the word of those to people is only going to help you build a stronger and stronger community. So yeah, like I said, we're just kind of the face of the community in a lot of ways, and also being able to connect with government officials and make sure that policies are in place and everything else to help protect homeowners and their investments and everything. So just being a big part of that. A lot of us realtors work with a lot of investors coming from out of town, so making sure that what they're doing is going to be a positive change for our community. And yeah, it's Indianapolis and all of the surrounding areas. So yeah, we try to do everything that we can, both on a volunteer level and just an educational level to build this city up to be the best that it can.
Yeah. Is there something in particular that you're really hopeful for, either from your work with the foundation and groups that you're getting to know, or policies that are upcoming right now? Or is there something that you think, man, this is really what I hope will happen in the coming years?
I always hope that we're able to give back and try to help eliminate homelessness and get people transitioned back into the community and back into healthy work environments and living situations. That's obviously a huge impact, not only for our industry, but just for the city as a whole, to be prideful of what's there and to be able to help those individuals that need, a little bit more guidance along the way. I think we've seen a lot of huge strides in the Indianapolis area ever since we hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's when we really started seeing, Fountain Square started booming, and a lot of positive transition has happened there. And that's continued to just continue, out on the outside of Indianapolis in different areas. So just seeing those positive changes so that people feel like they have a safe and positive place to live. And we've made some strides with the Red Line downtown of offering more public transportation. The realtors were a big part of that as well, because that was something that we were getting feedback from when we'd have clients come in and they were comparing us to other, bigger cities, having that public transportation. So just, making it a positive place with lots of opportunities, no matter where you are, as far as the, your economic standings go, of having resources there, I think is a huge thing. So we'll definitely continue to work towards that.
Yeah, I noticed recently that some of the city councilmen have put out a kind of call for action, that and the three key things they said. They talked a lot about the mental health resources and the new mental health intervention center that's here in Indianapolis. But then they said, increasing access to affordable housing and making public transportation free for all residents were two of the big calls that they said these would make a huge difference for. And they were talking particularly about the homeless population or the at-risk population, but obviously the public transportation one is one that's affecting everyone. Might have been the thing that stopped Amazon, for example. That opportunity, that was such a huge possibility for the city, and the public transportation was certainly part of what made that not possible. So anyway.
We're definitely trying to take steps in that direction, so that if another opportunity like that comes along, then it's not something holding us back. And I most certainly think with working with the homeless that a lot of the big struggle is just having consistent and reliable transportation to get to to and from work. And so being able to provide that would be huge. Yeah.
So Katie, thanks for being on and sharing a little bit about your story. I think it's oftentimes when we do think of just the public role. We think of you showing houses and drawing commissions, but the work is complicated, just like every job, right? I mean, these wouldn't be professions if they weren't complicated roles, and also just rich with opportunities to be a part of something much more than selling houses. Although selling houses is part of it, obviously, but the opportunity to be a part of something more is I think one of the things that makes life meaningful for folks who are doing what you do. So thank you for being willing to share, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
If you are looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, I hope that you will check out Katie Malott Realty. We didn't take a chance for her to promote her business and so on within the episode, but I certainly want to do that. I have personally used Katie a couple of times to purchase and sell homes, and had a wonderful experience with her, and she took great care of us. There'll be a link in the description to this video for information about her and how you can get in touch with her if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Indianapolis area. I believe that stories like this one are incredibly helpful in figuring out where God is leading you in your life. Sometimes when you're in the middle of the story, it's really difficult to know where God is speaking and where God is moving in your life to lead you. As we look back on these lives of these professionals, then we learn a little bit about how God is moving in their life, and I believe it'll make it easier for you to know how God is moving in your life. If you like stories like this one, subscribe to this channel and check out the description for links to other stories that are like it. And I hope that you'll come back again soon.